Hey guys, Shane McMurray from the Wedding Report. In this episode, I interviewed Manuel. He is a photographer in the Bentonville, Arkansas area. Check it out. Manuel, thanks for doing this. I appreciate your time. Tell me about your business. Tell me what city you're in, what your website is, your Instagram, any of those things.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to do this. I'm actually, I was a subscriber to the Wedding Report, so really great information there. So you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Well, my name is Manuel Trinidad. I am a wedding photographer. I am based in a town named Bentonville in Arkansas.
Okay.
It is the home of Walmart. So most people, don't know Arkansas, much less Bentonville. They know Walmart.
Yeah.
And I've been here most of my life. I grew up here, and I've been shooting weddings really for about the last 6-ish or so years. You can find me on social media. It's Manuel Trinidad Photography. You can look that up on Facebook or Instagram.
Okay, awesome. Most people don't know this about Walmart, but actually Walmart hires more data scientists than any other company in the US.
That is true.
I'm a data geek, so I know that as a fact. So
yeah, it is a fact.
Yeah, cool. So tell me, so how are you? So when you meet with someone, what's the process look like? So let's say I call you, email you. I mean, what are you getting these days? Mostly emails and stuff. And then what does that process look like for me to get to a place where I book you? And then what do we do after that?
Sure. Well, I'm a believer in keeping things as simple as possible. Someone I heard once said, a confused mind says no. And that's really true. So with my entire business model, I want to keep everything as simple for these couples, especially these brides who are already under an enormous amount of stress. So when somebody reaches out to me, it either comes through some sort of social media post of some sort, a referral, maybe some advertising I've done or whatever. But usually it's an email, either a contact form or something. And the first thing I do is it's normally they ask, are you available? And what is your pricing?
Yeah.
The two main things they ask every time. So if I'm available, I'll let them know and I'll send them my pricing. I am pretty open and honest about it with them. There's no reason a lot of photographers that I've met in the past, don't want to give their pricing out to potential clients until they meet and discuss things. And as a consumer, we all look for pricing. We all know how much it's going to cost us. So I just say, here's my pricing. If you like what you see, if you want to talk about it, if you want details, let's chat. We can get on the phone. If you're local here, which a lot of them are, let's go meet up for a coffee at Starbucks or somewhere, or a beer or whatever, and chat. I don't, and I'll probably get a lot of flack for this because this is probably what every wedding industry professional will tell you not to do. I don't really do a whole lot of follow-up. I don't personally like being bothered by pushy salespeople.
Okay.
And I don't want to be one of those pushy salespeople. They reached out to me. They know how to get a hold of me. I gave them everything they needed. My door is open for them. If they want to contact me, they're going to. If they're interested in me, they're going to. So when they do reach out to me, say for instance, they say, yeah, we want to talk. We'll set up a meeting, either on the phone or over a beer or a cup of coffee, and we'll meet up. And I really just, I always tell them, I'm not a pushy salesperson. I'm not going to try to give you any kind of, well, if you don't book me, someone else might, or, I've got people asking for this specific, I don't do that car salesman stuff. I simply want to answer their questions. I want them to meet me, get to know me, and get to know how I work with the couple, with the clients. And of course there is the not so pretty side of the, contracts and what that cost and payments and all that good stuff. But I really want to get to know that couple and make sure that we have a vibe and connect, and they're comfortable with me and the way I work. Because if they're not, it's not going to work out. I don't know how good of a photographer you are. If you can't have that trust and relationship with your client, it's just
true.
not going to work out.
Yeah,
So,
it's totally true.
yeah. And I always tell them, I say, what I'm going to do is give you all the information you need to take home and with you and process. And I tell them, I was like, if you want to hire me and sign up right now, that's totally fine. But I understand that you're probably looking at other photographers. And that's, I totally get that. And I just give them the information. I put them at ease. Like I said, make sure we vibe and jive. And, if they book me, wonderful. If not, that's okay.
Yeah. There's actually a couple things you said that are really important, I think, for other businesses, and that consumers really like. Number one, when you give them your pricing, you're actually qualifying the customer. You're actually giving them a situation to say, like if you give them pricing and you say my starting price is $5,000, and for them, if that doesn't meet their qualification, then there's no more need to do anything with it. And I think a lot of times businesses waste time trying to sell the client because they feel like they could sell them more, and they might do some, but in general, they're just wasting their time. If you give people what they need up front to make better decisions, I think that you do a better job of finding people that are your customer.
Absolutely.
And then people don't like pushy salesmen. People don't like, people know, no one really likes to go buy a car because what's going to happen in the experience. And so, you know what I mean? So I think your point around, look, you guys know how to, here's all the information. If you need anything else, contact me. If we don't want to do business, that's fine. That's okay. Right. But I'm not going to be the pushy follow-up guy trying to say, hey, book with me. Hey, book with me. Hey, book with me, which is great. I think that's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
So let's say I book, and we book together, and then what goes into the process after we book?
Sure. One of the big things that I'm key on with all my couples, especially the bride, I'm sure I'll probably hear some stuff about this too, but really it is all about her. No matter how you look at it, really. Yeah. For me, it's about building that connection and that relationship, and it's centered around trust. There's a few reasons why I want to do that. One of them is, like I said earlier, if I'm not comfortable with them, if they don't see me as somebody they know, I'm not saying a best friend, but somebody that they would be okay having in their home.
Yeah.
It's just going to be awkward, uncomfortable. She's not going to respond well. He's not going to respond well. It's just going to be a mess. And I've had that happen early on in my career and learned from that. In fact, a good friend of mine, she was a mentor to me, told me, because I was asking her about this, I was like, it just seems really difficult to work with these brides and these couples and whatever. She said, well, you're just going in, taking pictures. See, that's not what a photographer is supposed to do. You're supposed to capture the memories and create moments for them. And it's like, well, how do you do that? It's like, well, you don't even know your bride. You're just signing the contract and just jumping in. It's like, do you know what they like? Do you know what makes the couple click? What brings them together? So when I started learning more about the brides, keeping my mouth shut and listening to them, I knew my business and my photography started to improve. The other side of that too is knowing what you can and cannot do as far as a photographer. I'm sure you're probably well aware of this. There's a wide spectrum of couples. Some are extremely conservative. I've shot some weddings where they wouldn't even kiss for a picture. Wow. Very strict, very conservative. Totally fine. Still made beautiful weddings, but I got to know them. I've had others that were just crazy, wild, Panama Beach type of, people. And you do some crazy things. So if I know the couple, if I know what makes them tick, click, and everything else, and I know that they're comfortable with me and we have that relationship, I'm going to do a great job for them. and they know that right up front, right before they book me. But as far as the process that happens afterwards, it's really simple. I like to meet with them, not right then and there. I always say, well, if we have time, let's set up a meeting for a couple weeks later, and let
Yeah.
me get to know you. I always ask if I can meet with the bride and the groom, or whoever, same-sex couples or whatnot. If I can meet with each one separately, and I just get to know them,
Hmm.
get to understand them, and of course get their input on what they like,
That's good.
which is very important for me.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you meet with them afterwards. Do you do any preparation or any other thing up to the day?
Oh, absolutely. Tons of preparation.
Yeah.
I always I always tell them, I'm not the guy that you're going to hire today, and then your wedding's, 9, 12, months from now, and I'm just going to show up and you're going to be like, oh, hey, glad you showed up. Or, you know,
Yeah.
the next, I don't want the next communication from me to be, the rest of your bill is due because your wedding's next week,
Right. Right. Yeah.
but I stay in close communication with them. I always tell them, it's like, I want you to, I tell them I'm going to put them on my, emailing list. So, I always like to write little blogs or whatever. That
Yep.
way they know I'm still alive.
Yep.
I'm still
Yep.
doing this.
Yeah. Because 9 months out, right? It's a long.
Yeah.
Right.
And I always, send them follow-up emails where, we do things, very common things. We get shot lists. I tell them, when you book a venue or when you have your plan, what are you doing here? Let me know how the day's going to go, what your wedding's going to be like, if we're shooting a traditional wedding or something more culturally focused. So there's constant communication. But I create a timeline. I work very closely with the bride, of course. And I never try to do or change anything without the couple's permission. If there's a planner involved, I certainly get the bride's permission to talk to that planner and work. I
Yeah.
like to know what's going on. So there's a lot that I try not to leave any stone unturned.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you show up. I mean, what does your day look like? 8 hour
Um,
day, 6 hour day, 12 hour day. I've seen heard like 14 hour days sometimes for photography. Because you're the
uh,
one that's usually with them more than anyone else.
right, and that's kind of the key. I tell the couples, like, even the bride, it's like, I'm going to be pretty close with you all day long. I'm going to be everywhere. Obviously I'm not going to, be a disruption,
Yeah.
but I'm going to be with you. I'm going to be taking great photos. I'm going to be all over the place. Depending on how long they have me for. Yeah, my days can get up to 14, 16-hour days. But on a typical, well, I guess on a bigger wedding, my day on average will start around 9 a.m.
Yeah.
And if I'm lucky, I'll be driving home at midnight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
very long day. But we work hard to capture the moments and really capture what the bride and the groom, the couple, wants.
Mhm.
But yeah, a typical day can be pretty lengthy and pretty
Yeah,
tiring.
I would imagine. Yeah. Cool. So what advice would you give couples looking for a photographer today?
Um, Obviously, look at their work. You want to look at this photographer's work, their site, their social media, wherever they have their work at. Look at it, and if you like it, don't be afraid to talk and reach out to them or set up some sort of consultation.
Mhm.
Um, I would say don't let pricing scare you off to begin with. Um, I always tell my brides, in fact, on my pricing sheet, I always tell them is we can do custom packages. My main collections may not fit,
Yeah.
what they need. So don't be afraid to talk to me just because of that. We could try to work something. We could
Sure.
work something out, and I do that a lot. So I would say don't be afraid to talk to people. Um, Make sure you feel comfortable with this person.
Mhm.
Um, Make sure you feel like you know how when you first meet somebody,
Yep.
you have either a connection or something's not there. Same thing. Just make sure you're connected with this person, and don't be afraid to ask them. Don't be afraid to ask them. There's no stupid question. There's no silly question.
Yeah.
Ask them about how they, work, what they can expect from the photographer, even things like delivery time, style and processing of their images and their photos. Are they going to look the way you want them? Blah, 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 and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But definitely have a consultation with them. I wrote a blog about this. Sit down with them. If they start getting pushy, I mean, I'm pretty straightforward with people. If I don't like you, and if you're being too pushy, I'll tell you to get away from me. I'll tell you I'm not going to do business with you. Don't be afraid of that.
Yeah.
Just sit back and say, you're being too pushy. But don't be afraid to talk to them and really find out what kind of people they are. I would say, like I said, there's no stupid questions, but there are some questions that are kind of silly. I've had plenty of brides, and I still do to this day. They'll go to Google, what to ask your wedding photographer, and they'll have a sheet with a list of questions. And one of the questions is always, what kind of equipment you shoot with. Like, do you really care? I mean, it's asking like, I don't go into a steakhouse asking, well, can you show me how you got the steak from the cow? I want to have my dinner, so look at the work. If you're happy with that, if you're satisfied with it, if you're attracted to it, talk to that photographer and see how you feel with them.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So let's switch gears a little bit and
Sure.
talk about the business side. Tell me what's working well for you right now.
Okay. For me, in my neck of the woods, because I think every market is going to be very different.
Absolutely,
yeah. What works for me is, social media. That's one of my worst. That's one of the worst things I have is my social media. I'm very lazy with it. I just, I could do a whole lot more, but as I start working in the social media, whether it's posts or, trying to figure out the targeted Facebook ads things, I get a lot of interest generated from that. It took me a while, but there are certain platforms that I advertise on. A couple, you probably know, The Knot is one of them. I didn't do that for the first few years because it wasn't in my plan to do so. It didn't fit my plan, but over the last couple of years, it has. So that works really well. And I actually do some local wedding shows. I enjoy those. I really have a fun time there, and I can connect face-to-face with people. They get to see my personality, which I think is fantastic. But seeing somebody face-to-face,
it makes a big difference. It does. It makes a big difference. What would you say are the biggest challenges that you're running into right now?
Some of the biggest challenges, honestly, anything can come up and be a challenge, especially as an entrepreneur. For me, on the business side, some of the biggest challenges are things like on the technical side, SEO. I'm not doing, I could do a lot better job with that. But of course, as you probably know, being a data guy, that's a whole other skill set. That's there are people who go get college degrees to do that,
For sure.
So that's a challenge. And like I said before, social media, I need to be a lot better about posting and interacting on social media. Other than that, I enjoy this. I don't know of any major, I guess I could say, and I might, again, I don't know if this is going to get me in trouble or not, but oh well. Our industry being perceived as cheap. I think that's a challenge for a lot of photographers out there who are running a successful business and who are, truly doing great work, is because our industry is not regulated at all. I think that's a great thing. I wouldn't want to change it for the world.
Sure.
But I think, unfortunately, we have a perception that people just expect photographers to be cheap because, again, yes, everyone's a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, probably for the last 10, 15 years, everybody has always been a photographer, cell
Yeah.
phones, the iPhone coming out and all that good stuff, and digital cameras becoming easier and better on the consumer side.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's a little bit of a struggle. And I think a lot of photographers fall into the trap of trying to compete on pricing, or trying to say, yeah, I'll just slash everything in half for you just to get
The
and
deal. Yeah.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
think
Well, I
that,
mean, it's challenging. I think, I mean, what would you say is probably the main reason that happens?
as far as the cheap,
Yeah.
uh,
Why do you think that the industry is, the consumers, their expectation is that? Why do you think that is?
this will probably get me some more trouble too.
That's
I
right.
think I think it's the industry itself. I think it's those of us who are in the industry. I don't think it's because iPhone 11 has an amazing camera, or everybody gets a camera for Christmas or whatever. I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think it's because we don't set a standard as professionals, me included. Me included. I was the guy who did a lot of shoot and burn. $50 family sessions, $50 headshots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do your wedding and I'll pay for your firstborn's college tuition. Just hire me.
Yeah.
Whatever. Um, I think I think because of us not, like I said, me too, not being leaders in our industry, to these new photographers coming in and kind of saying, look, this is a professional industry. We have certain standards, even in just your local area, just here,
Yeah.
like in Northwest Arkansas, saying we have certain standards. This is how we run our business. That's why so many people just come in and just dump themselves in there and say, oh, I'm a professional wedding photographer. Yeah, I'll do your wedding.
Yeah.
I think we just have to. So of course, if we're sitting there looking at our industry saying, well, there's just a bunch of cheap people around here, whatever.
Mhm.
What do you think the brides and grooms and the couples are going to say?
Yeah.
I think I remember I was doing some sort of keyword search thing a while back. I think one of the phrases I saw, I don't know where it fell in the Google rankings, but cheap wedding photographers.
Wow. Yeah.
I was like, we can't, I used to be the guy, oh, it's all these newbies coming in. They're just doing, $50, weddings, and they'll spend all day with the blah, blah, blah. That's not it. That's totally not it. You can't blame that
I
at
think
all.
it's multifaceted, actually. I think you're onto something there. It is part of it is the fact that it's not a regulated or professional. There's nothing you can wrap around it to say I'm a professional, right? You're not like a doctor. You're not you don't have to go get a license to do it, except for a business license, and you can do whatever you want. So part of it is the barrier to entry for photography, for planning, for DJ is so low, anybody can get into this space and do this work.
Mhm.
Whether they're good or not, that's a different question, right? But they can get in and do it, just like you just said, right? I also think that general business is so focused on marketing to people and giving them deals and sales and this and that, that the mentality of people is price, 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 price.
Right.
People are still looking for value, but because it's so ingrained into them about price, right? I mean, how many times have you gone to the store to buy clothing and you didn't buy it because there wasn't a sale, and next week they're going to have a 50% off sale, right? I mean,
Exactly.
it's just part of the nature of how we shop now. And if things are, and then it's also deals with the value of what they place on photography versus some other piece of their wedding, right? So
Right.
if photography is not a high priority for them, some people it might not be, because honestly the camera and the iPhone is pretty good, and the
Mhm.
value that I get out of the pictures from that is, hey, you know what, that's good enough. Maybe that's what they do. Same thing happens with the DJ side. People just like to play some music, maybe have someone make a quick announcement, and they're good. It's just what the value they put on it.
Right.
So I think a combination of those things actually is what's influencing the problems that you see when people are just price, 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 price.
Absolutely.
So when you said earlier, when you said, hey, look, here's my date that that I need you. Are you available? And then what is your price? And you said, yeah, I am, or I'm not available. And here's my price sheet, is the perfect solution to that, because you qualify the customer right away to say, look, here's my pricing, here's my stuff, here's my work, go check me out.
Mhm.
And if you like what you see, great, let's talk and let's do more. But if I don't fit into your importance of how much you want to spend, then that's fine.
Right. And I think
So
that goes back into building that, getting to know that client and having that consultation to know, I mean, are you just looking for someone who can just you don't care, or do you really care about creating a legacy and, something that you'll have for many generations?
yeah, but there's also this part of it too. I think business, you know, it's hard as an individual entrepreneur because you're always looking for lots of different things to do. I mean, you have to do so many things as a business, right? You got to run the business, you got to market, you got to do the work. I think what we miss sometimes, because we want to we have this professional thing, and this is what we do, we miss the opportunity for other things in the market. And I'll give you a great example. Vera Wang, she's a very big dress designer. Everybody
Yeah.
knows who she is. She designs dresses, 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 plus, right?
Right.
But what she realizes, for me to grow my business, and this is for any luxury designer, they realize for me to grow my business, I need to create products and lines that fit into other segments of the market. So what did she do? She created a dress. This was many years ago, but she created a dress or design that fit into the $1,200 to $1,500 range at David's Bridal, right? So what did she do? She tapped into a lower side of the market, right? Even though she is a luxury designer. So yeah, she's still the professional, great, whatever, but she tapped into that lower market. I think people miss the opportunity. Like you said earlier, you're talking about like shoot and burn, shoot and burn. I think that's okay. If a customer wants to shoot and burn, if I said to you, look, I need you to come for 3 hours, I'll pay you $1,000. You're going to pass it up for $333 an hour to just come and shoot and then give me the thing at the end? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I get what you're saying. I totally understand what you're saying. And again, I think you're right. And to that aspect, it's kind of like the way I run my business. And when I have, brides, because it never fails, I'll always have a few brides, a handful of brides that will always ask, well, can we get a discount? If we purchase this collection, can we get a discount? And, my answer is always, I price my wedding packages so I can continue to do this business for as long as I'm able to do, physically able to do it. So my prices are set. I'm not a stickler though. I do offer, military, educator, fire EMS discounts for people. And, if they don't fall into one of those categories, they always say, well, how do we get can we get a discount? It's like, well, are you going to pay in 24 hours? And either they say, well, no. And I've had some who said, yeah, we'll pay you. You send us a bill right now. I'll pay it on my phone right here in front of you. I was like, okay. So I'm like, I'll give you a 10% discount. You do it right now. Sure. But I don't think we should fall. You're right. I don't think we should fall into the trap of just, slashing everything just so we can have a wedding, because we're not going to be able to sustain our business. And again, it's only going to hurt our industry, and we're just going to implode on ourselves.
But my point was that there may be opportunities below what you normally offer,
right,
or outside of what you normally offer, that could be a profit money generation thing for you as a business that you didn't consider. That's what I'm trying.
And I think you're right, because I've had people contact me and said, you know what, we only need you for 2 hours. We're not going to have a reception. We're going to go up to this chapel, which is a very popular chapel here.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have a ceremony. We want some pictures outside, and that's it. And I'll look at it. If I'm available and I think it works for me, I'll give them a price. I'll say, here's what I'll do it for.
Yeah.
Will I give them the raw files? No. Will I process the images for them and give them beautiful artwork? Yes. Absolutely. And so you're right. And I've done that, and I will still do that to this day.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean, right? Those are opportunities that you can do without having to miss out on business, but still being able to grow your business, but not having to put a ton into it, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, on a deal like that, I mean, how many hours do you actually put into the editing of the photos?
Right. I mean, if you think, let's see, I shot a wedding a couple of weeks ago, and it was one of those very fast. They had me originally for 1.5 hours, and they said, no, we just need you for 2. So I said, okay. So I went in there, shot their wedding, created some great pictures for them. I think we spent probably an hour, hour and a half on editing. I mean, because they're very simple. There's not a lot of contrast between, well, we were outside, we were inside, we were at the reception, there was the DJ and the lights and all that going on.
So you got 4 hours of work into this thing.
Yeah.
That
So,
you can give them for a reasonable price, because that's all they need. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I don't think you're right. I don't think any photographer should. I mean, you have some who have the luxury of being able to select whoever they want and not worry about it. But I think it's definitely something for all photographers to keep an open mind to.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. So.
Yeah. Good. One day you and I are going to retire, and I think we already talked a little bit about this, like advice, but what specific advice would you give new people coming into the space?
So specifically for wedding photographers, plan. Have a plan. So many I see come into this without any kind of real business plan. They just, they throw up a Facebook page, they throw up a free Instagram, they go to Vistaprint, sign up as a new member, and get 500 free business cards as a new member, which is fine. And they do a couple styled shoots, and that's it. They think everything's going to fall into their lap. I know this for a fact because that's what I did, years ago, and it completely bombed. Finally, someone told me, he says, you need to actually plan this like a real business.
Yeah.
As if you were a McDonald's franchise, or you were going to start a real estate company or a factory. Do your market research. Every single market's different. The Northwest Arkansas market is very different from the South Arkansas market and the Beverly Hills market. Understand your competition, and don't go catfishing photographers for their prices and stuff.
Yeah, you don't need to do that. You need to understand opportunity in the market. That's the only purpose of looking at your competitors.
Yeah, exactly. Plan though, have a business. I ask people all the time, they come to me, it's like, I'm getting into wedding photography. Should I be advertising here? Should I be advertising here? What does your marketing plan say? What does your business plan say? Where's cash flow coming into? How do you plan on penetrating into the local market here?
Yeah. And
they look at me like, well, I got a Facebook page, I did a styled shoot. Plan. Plan. There are great resources out there for people. I found many of them that you can use for free to really plan your business and understand what the market is, what the cost structures are, who your clients are, and look at yourself and figure out, well, what do I need to do to really build a sustainable business and survive?
Yeah.
Because there's things like health insurance eventually that you'll want to get into, and growing your business costs money.
Yeah. Taxes, right? You got to pay taxes,
all
right?
That stuff.
You got to get licensed. You got to do all that good stuff.
Yep. And I tell people, just plan. Actually take the time to write a real business plan.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right. So last question, Manuel. What is your best or worst wedding or business story you got for me?
Oh, how about I just give you my best?
That's awesome. Yeah.
I don't really have a lot of worst. I've had difficult. I'll give you. I'll do a couple different things here. As business owners, I hate to say this, we know the customers hardly ever right. But we can never. We can't say anything, and one bad word from a client could ruin us, even if we prove it wrong. Yeah. So I've had my advice to some of these photographers, new photographers especially, is sometimes you just got to take one for the team. And you might have a difficult couple She may be a bridezilla. He may not be, willing to work with you or wanting to do anything. He may be acting like this, spoiled kid or whatever. It's like, work through it and do the best you can. Try to meet the need. Do the best you can to meet the needs of this bride. Because I've had them and I will continue to have them. I just work through it and know that it's gonna be over. And you're, no matter what, you're delivering them something that's important.
Yeah.
Probably one of my best weddings, this was so funny, was probably happened this year. My first wedding I shot this year was on January 3rd. And it was for this couple. They're both somewhere around 51, 52. It's funny because, not to get into it too much, but they knew each other back in high school. They ran with the same crowd, never dated, but they ran with the same crowd. And she would advise him on the girls to date. She was the typical cheerleader. He was a typical jock. They split their separate ways after high school, went to college, had kids. I mean, their kids were, late 20s, early 30s already. And they got divorced after about 30 years of marriage to their spouses. Funny fact is they used the same divorce lawyer.
Wow.
So, they met up and decided to get married. And I can tell you, like, these people were just absolutely amazing. Their guests were amazing. Their friends and family were amazing. I wrote her a note afterwards and I said, I've never seen, nor have I ever shot a wedding where so many people were constantly either smiling or laughing through the whole thing. They were cracking up at the during the ceremony, saying their vows. They were laughing. Everyone was laughing. It was just a happy wedding. I felt good. And it got pretty wild, which kind of surprised me for folks that were older.
Yeah.
They were educators at that, so I can tell you, teachers can get down.
Yeah.
But it felt good. Because this couple was just an absolute joy, and they just loved life.
Yeah.
So that was probably my best wedding.
That's a great story. It's a great story. Manuel, thanks so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate you doing this.
Absolutely.
Have a good one, man.
All right, sir. Thank you.
All right. Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. I hope that you found it helpful. Please share it with other people. Also, if you're getting married or you work in the wedding industry, I would love to interview and share your information with other people. Send me a text, 520-399-8580, or shoot me an email at letschat@wedding.report.